A hearty good afternoon and welcome to Hard Facts for today. It is the 9th day of December 2025. I am seriously counting down to Christmas. Not that it will make all that much of a difference because I will be here on Christmas Day if it's not a weekend. Is it a weekend? Oof, dear. I couldn't even check. I didn't check because of the nature of work. But either way, it's what now? 16 days to Christmas. So yes, my countdown is officially on in my head, and so shall it remain. How are you doing, Capital City? Welcome to the show. Good afternoon. Welcome to the show, world, wherever it is that you're listening in from, whether it is from Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, Ouagadougou, everywhere else. I'm welcoming you. Whether listening from Dubai, shout out to all our listeners in Dubai, in Canada, in Liberia, everywhere else. We're grateful to have you here. We being myself, Somi, that's S-O-M-I, short for Somi, as well as Gabriel Spector, who will be in the studio in a couple of minutes. Welcome once again, 3:17 p.m. So let's get straight into our big three conversations today, starting with the rippling effects that are still being felt across not just West Africa, but other parts of Africa as well. News reports have it today that the Economic Community of West African States declared a state of emergency across the region. The president of the ECOWAS Commission, Omar Toure, made this announcement today during the 55th session of the Mediation and Security Council at the ministerial level in Abuja. Toure said recent developments underline the imperative of serious introspection on the future of our democracy and the urgent need to invest in the security of our community. He made this address to ministers, diplomats, and senior officials, giving a sobering assessment of West Africa's political climate, also citing multiple incidents as evidence of rapidly deteriorating security environment. One of the things that he mentioned as a major trigger of instability in the regions is elections. This is his general overview, even though he did a country-by-country analysis looking at the documents that he had with him at the address. But yes, apart from the elections which he cited, he mentioned the fact clearly that events within the last few weeks have shown the imperative of serious introspection on the future of the democracy of the region, and he also urged again for investment into the security of the community. All right. So speaking, coming back to the issue of elections as a major trigger, he cited recent attempted coups and ongoing discussions with the Alliance of Sahel states, stressing the urgent need for a coordinated regional response to terrorism and cross-border criminal activity. Well, this is the situation as declared by the ECOWAS, citing the words of the president of the ECOWAS Commission. I don't know if this is going to translate into more. So typically when you hear of a state of emergency, you know that it's followed by a flurry of activities, some of which are, meant, not the norm, right? Meant to right the wrongs going on within the society. But beyond this declaration, it remains to be seen if the West African states are going to take any other action, according to Toure, to stem the issues that we are seeing. But in elections, a very key one, being a trigger for instability within the region, is something that I think a lot of people will probably agree with. All right. So yes, looking at the Guinea-Bissau situation, the attempted coup in Benin Republic, all of this, he said, are sobering reminders of the fragility of our democratic gains. Now, this was Kaba speaking, Sierra Leonean Minister of Foreign Affairs and Chairman of the Council of Ministers, Timothy Kaba. He was the one speaking, and in response to Toure's statement, he called for decisive action to promote democratic governance amid worsened political instability. Again, what would that translate to? What would promoting democratic let me put it the way he put it. What is this going to look like when Kaba is talking about the fragile state of democracy, of course, pointing out the political crisis in Guinea-Bissau and Benin? What is it going to look like when he says protect our democratic governance? I think that, for me, is the biggest discussion to be had, because if democracy is the go-to, and just as we had in conversations yesterday, the military are the last resort, if the ECOWAS is serious by means of declaring the state of emergency, then we should start to see action. Does this then mean that the leaders of the Economic Community of West African States are going to start taking into consideration some of the key areas that even people within these countries are complaining about? For example, all the things we touched on yesterday, the seat-tight syndrome issue, the what they call it now, the violence coming from jihadist movements and all of that. What would it translate to? I'm hoping that this declaration of a state of emergency is going to be more than just that, a declaration. But of course, they had discussions which they said they must move beyond just reaffirming principles. They said they must generate decisions that offer real hope and strengthen the credibility of their institutions. Kaba still speaking on this one. He says our people no longer have the patience for commitments that remain unfulfilled. And he said they expect us to confront these challenges with seriousness, unity, and purpose. Of course, we know that as far as the Economic Community of West African States is concerned, there have been recent exits from that. Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, who remain under military-led administrations, coming together to form the Alliance of Sahel States. Well, Guinea-Bissau recently joined this group following a military intervention. On Sunday, an attempted coup in Benin Republic was foiled, further highlighting this stated fragility many times. Now, let's come to the AES, the Alliance of Sahel States, where there seems to be a lot of tension brewing. Now, following the recently foiled coup in Benin, which Nigeria played a key role in. We talked about that yesterday. As a matter of fact, just today, the president's request seeking permission to deploy Nigerian troops to Benin got to the Senate, and the Senate approved it. Now, bearing in mind that the troops had already made their way into Benin and foiled this attempt, but the president's request seeking permission to deploy Nigerian troops to Benin just made its way to Senate today, right? And in that, he explained his action. That's the president explained his action in line with Section 5 of the 1999 Constitution, which requires him to consult the Senate before deploying the armed forces on combat missions outside Nigeria. I'm not quite sure, again, how this works, because if we're quoting the Constitution, he's required to have sought the Senate's permission before deploying, but his letter is just getting to the Senate today. Also, pursuant to Section 5.5, Part 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, the president sought consultation with the National Defense Council, the consent of the Senate for the deployment of Nigerian troops to the Republic of Benin. Again, the intervention already done, results that we're seeing after that, Nigeria taking, the big brotherly pat on the back for foiling that. Again, I'm not quite sure the legalities around this, but his request is just getting to Senate today. While that is happening, you are having at least 11 Nigerian soldiers currently being detained in Burkina Faso, of course, one of the Alliance of Sahel states, after a Nigerian aircraft landed there. So many issues going on with that one. But let's take a break. When we come back, we'll get into the details of that story. We'll be back.
More talk, news, and sports after this.
Welcome back to your number one talk news station. This is Nigeria Info.
With all the stories that make the news,
The headlines,
the caption, the breaking news.
details of the stories
Let's talk about these and more.
on 95.1 Nigeria Info. Let's talk. Here on Info, we give you a great blend of all. Local or foreign, we've got you covered.
Blackouts across Nigeria as national grid collapses.
The UN is warning of the consequences of Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
We are right on.
95.1 Nigeria Info.
Your number one station for talk.
There's a place where you can get it all trending.
Who are dropping on their vehicle and running, leaving their vehicle.
A place where you can air your views.
I want to report the situation.
Only on your number one station for talk.
This is not the way. We cannot continue like this.
95.1 Nigeria Info. Abuja. Let's talk.
This is Hard Facts.
Hard Facts. On 95.1 Nigeria Info.
Righty. We are back, and Gabriel is sat here looking as usual like he should be sending money to my account. Good afternoon, Gabriel. How are you doing?
Good afternoon, Somi. So send money to your account, and I'll give you my account first. You send money to my account, and then I'll send it back to you.
It's too late.
Fair
Sorry
deal.
about that. But good to have you here.
Thank you.
We're already talking, and one story down, we're looking at the developments also coming from the entire situation over the weekend with the attempted coup and the rippling effects it's having. As of today, developments show that the Nigerian Air Force had to come out and break its silence and make certain clarifications around the situation that developed early this morning. The Confederation of Sahel States, of course, what some people are calling the rival ECOWAS Union, accused a Nigerian aircraft carrying 11 Nigerian soldiers of violating Burkina Faso airspace. We know that AES is made up of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, and this was established after ECOWAS suspended the three nations over the toppling of democratic governments. Now, in a statement signed by Assimi Goïta, the Mali junta leader, AES said the Nigerian aircraft was forced to land in Bobo Dioulasso on Monday. He also directed that any aircraft that violates AES airspace should be neutralized. And of course, the Confederation of Sahel States most strongly condemning the violation of its airspace by Nigeria and the sovereignty of its member states. They described the act as unfriendly, carried out in defiance of international law and international civil and or military aviation rules and arrangements, a violation of this. Let's just leave it at that. And in this regard, he was speaking on the instructions of the head of states. The Aryan and anti-aircraft defenses of the confederal space have been put on maximum alert in accordance with the declaration of the College of Head of States, and they were authorized to neutralize any aircraft that will violate the confederal space, which is what they are currently accusing this Nigerian aircraft of doing. Meanwhile, spokesperson of the force, Air Commodore Ehime Ojodame, had come out to say that this particular aircraft was on its way to Portugal before this forced landing in Burkina Faso. It does mean that a lot of tensions already brewing, especially between the AES states and Nigeria, considering the role that Nigeria is specifically taking when it comes to standing against everything coups. So it makes you wonder what the issue was and how they ended up landing in Burkina Faso. Air Commodore Jodame explained that they had to make an emergency landing in Burkina Faso due to safety issues, and he said those on board the aircraft were fine and would soon continue their mission to Europe. The Nigerian Air Force, they said, was clarifying reports regarding the diversion of this particular aircraft, the NAF C-130, during its ferry mission to Portugal. They said following takeoff from Lagos, the crew observed a technical concern which necessitated a precautionary landing in Bobo Dioulasso in Burkina Faso, which was the nearest airfield, according to them. And they did that in accordance to standard safety procedures and international aviation protocols. So now you are having the Nigerian government explaining this away, saying, look, it was a safety issue. We needed to do this. Meanwhile, you're having the AES talking about how it was a violation, and this in accordance with their own international laws, which they quoted. So this is the situation as at this time. When the news first broke, there were clamors of response from the Nigerian government to say, look, what's the situation? No, these people are saying that according to the laws, any such aircraft should be neutralized. Are they okay? They've come out to respond. But then what does this mean for the continuation of relations if this person is claiming you violated. Because I don't know, remind me, perhaps a little too many movies, but even if it's an emergency situation, you're still supposed to seek clearance from the airspace that you are wanting to land in, right? That's the way it works.
Yeah.
So is it that they did not seek clearance and they landed because of their emergency situation, or they sought clearance and it wasn't granted? It's not really clear, but either side saying different things.
Well, I'm no pilot, but then when we, like you said, you referenced movies, we look at movies, we watch the news internationally. One thing is certain, that the fact that an aircraft like the C-130, for example, which is quite aged, has technical issues. There just might be the need to land abruptly. All right, but you see, breakdown internationally when it comes to the aviation diplomacy. Breakdown is a technical term used when two things. It's either you are in a space you're not supposed to be in, and you obviously wanted to land. Because when we connect the dots, right? Burkina Faso borders Benin Republic. Right. One day after Nigeria sent troops into Benin Republic to foil the coup attempt, the following day, an aircraft, C-130, breaks down in Burkina Faso. So when you think about it, if you are a military general in Burkina Faso, you're looking here, okay, what is going on? And I honestly would say they are well within their right to question the authority, because when you're calculating the trip, you are looking at the trip, you are saying that you're going to Portugal to have routine maintenance of the flight. You know, we spoke about this thing yesterday, where we said that the flight maintenance or the craft maintenance are usually done abroad. What about taking another route, albeit longer? Because now we are looking at diplomatic tension within Africa, within the Sahel region, within West Africa. I think the Nigerian Air Force may have goofed on this one, except they were actually on a mission to Burkina Faso. And it is absolutely normal. The U.S. carries out, covert missions in other nations. So if the Nigerian Air Force was doing that, maybe diplomatically speaking, the service chief will not come out and say, yes, we're trying to get into Burkina Faso. But it was a risk that has gone wrong, because you now need to convince Burkina Faso that, yes, it was actually a technical issue that led to a breakdown that demanded the craft be landed abruptly. Because when you look at it, we're in the height of diplomatic tensions within the Sahel region, within the West Africa corridor generally. You could have taken the route through Senegal, the coast, through Senegal. Why go through Burkina Faso when the previous day you sent troops to Benin Republic? So these are some of the things. And I'm just looking at it as an observer, as a journalist. I'm looking at the issue. I'm like, okay, this is what is going on here. Except, of course, there's going to be inside story, classified intel that we do not have access to. In the next five years, even if we use FOI to try to get information as to what really happened, you and I know that when it comes to security concerns, we may not really get it. So this is the best that we can do. Just looking at the details, looking at what we know to be what is obtainable standardly, globally. This looks like a goof to me on the part of the Nigerian Air Force, except, of course, they were actually trying to carry out a covert mission into Burkina Faso. Because now, the other guy...
Let's even say that they were trying to do that. This is a goof still, if that was the case.
Oh, well, yeah,
because they've been found out.
Yeah, of course. That was the case. Of course, because the other guy, what's this guy's name? The guy that planned the failed coup, the Bosch coup in Benin, is at large. It's currently being looked for. So, is this a pointer that the guy is currently in Burkina Faso? Who knows? It's very possible. Burkina Faso borders Benin Republic. So it's possible that, but I think this leads to, on the larger scale, I think it leads to a massive breakdown. ECOWAS, we are talking about ECOWAS declaring a state of emergency in West Africa. This also happens. It just shows that the whole of West Africa is not on the same page. when it comes to their stance against, the attack on democracy across West Africa. They're not on the same page. Because Nigeria here signifies or represents a very strong position of authority. You like it or not, as far as West Africa is concerned, Nigeria is the biggest, largest nation, even till now. And so Nigeria's got to take that big brother role, which I dare say that the president has tried to do to a reasonable extent. And Burkina Faso now standing up to face Nigeria and say, no, you dare not send your troops into our country unprovoked. What are you doing here? It just shows that we're not on the same page. I think it's a direct response to the state of emergency, which I also think is a plea. Not necessarily the state of emergency that was declared is more like a plea to me, like SOS, we're in trouble, international community can't save us.
No, they did not mention international community.
No, I'm just saying now. I mean, they give commentary.
Let's not mix it up.
They did not mention. I mean, they give commentary. When I looked at the entire thing, when I saw the breaking news, I just read the thing. I didn't see any concrete statements. It could be that they are admitting that all the sanctions and suspension is not working. It is failing. So it looks like an SOS to me. Like, Muna help us to this thing, don't they pass our power. That's exactly how I interpreted the entire thing. So now Burkina Faso now is doing this. Nigeria is the backbone of any authority ECOWAS as a bloc. Any authority ECOWAS has, Nigeria is the backbone. And now Burkina Faso is standing up in front of Nigeria and saying, you know what, your troops cannot be here. I think it speaks louder volumes than what we might even be reading to it.
All right. Still remains to be seen what comes out of that situation. The Alliance of Sahel States have made their point clear, condemning what they've termed as a violation of their airspace and the sovereignty of their member states, while you have the Nigerian Air Force saying, look, it was just a ferry mission to Portugal, and we had a safety issue and we had to stop. As a matter of fact, they went ahead to say that they remain professionally committed to strict compliance with operational procedures and safety standards, ensuring the protection of its personnel while fulfilling its constitutional mandate. And that is where we ended there. Of course, when the phone lines open, we'd like to get your thoughts on that. What do you think is at play here, given everything that you've heard on this story? Ferry mission, safety technical issues, isn't it normal or isn't it standard procedure for permission to be sought even from the country within which its airspace was before they're allowed to land, right? Isn't that standard procedure?
If it is what NAF says it is, I think another route should have been taken. That's what I genuinely think. If it is, will it be longer? Probably. Will it cost them more? Probably. But when you look at the diplomatic tension currently in that region, for goodness sake, take another route. It's not as deep. If it is what NAF says it is, because what is a diplomatic relationship with Burkina Faso? Because you're going to take through all of this region, Mali and the rest. So what is even internationally, when Israel was trying to do some this thing, they needed to cross Turkey and Egypt. They knew that if they don't have that, they went through Donald Trump, because you just can't fly. It is. Why do you think the U.S., for example, use a stealth bomber, the B-20, yes, B-20, the stealth bomber, so that they can go undetected? They invest hundreds of millions of dollars to go undetected when they're flying airspace. The U.S., when they're flying airspace they shouldn't be at, they use stealth. Why? Because it is a violation of the sovereignty of a nation that you cross the airspace uninvited, and then you go ahead to land in it and say it is a technical breakdown. Again, I think they should have taken another route. All
right. Let's look at our final story so that we can open up the phone lines to you. This time around, the person under the microscope, the kind of microscope that sun, how you use the microscope to transfer heat. Is it heat glass? No, not the microscope glass. You know how you use to transfer heat to target it at one particular place. Well, the person under this particular target this time around is the boss of the NNPC. And this time around, we're having a court stepping into the matter and issuing an order directing the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and the group chief executive officer of the NNPCL, Bayo Ojulari, to respond to a request to compel the president to suspend Bayo Ojulari from office pending the termination of a suit querying his competence for the job. Justice Mohammed Madugu, sitting in the Buhari division of the High Court, issued the order in a ruling on an ex parte motion filed by a group called the Incorporated Trustees of Initiative for Promotion of Civic Obligation and Sustainable Peace. Justice Madugu declined the group's request, made ex parte that the president be compelled to suspend Ojulari or that the NNPC boss be ordered to step down forthwith. The two reliefs in respect of which the president and Ojulari are to file a response are, one, first of all, the interim order directing and mandating the first defendant, the president, in the exercise of his constitutional duty to suspend or direct Bayo Ojulari to temporarily step down aside from office as GCEO of the NNPCL, and in his stead appoint another person in acting capacity pending the conclusion of the investigation by the second defendant being EFCC, also pending the hearing and determination of the motion or notice. Now, where is all of this coming from, you would ask? Apparently, Bayo Ojulari has had to be dealing with all of this as far back as April this year. The suit seeking his sack as GCO of NNPCL is the culmination of several public allegations and concerns that have arisen since his appointment in April of this year. Some key events and allegations that are leading up to this court order, or that have led to this court order, include: one, allegations of financial misconduct and corruption. There have been talks about salary increase and extravagance, where reports surfaced alleging that Ojulari doubled his own salary shortly after resuming office and backdated the increase. Reports have it that he was also accused of lavish spending, including a high-cost retreat in Kigali, Rwanda, which allegedly involved private jet hire costing over 1 billion naira at a time of economic hardship in Nigeria. There have also been talks about questionable financial transactions, such as the allegations, including an EFCC investigation linking him to the transfer of millions of dollars to the account of an AA&R investment group, a company reportedly connected to the son-in-law of a prominent opposition politician. There have been so much more as well. A $21 million corruption scandal, which civil society groups have used to call for his arrest and prosecution. There have also been failure to address audit queries and refinery issues. Of course, we know about the very controversial amounts, 103 trillion in liabilities and 107 trillion in assets that needed to be explained. All of that pending as well as neglect of refinery rehabilitation. Now, the EFCC confirmed receiving a petition against Ojulari from protesters, which they stated that they would look into. And then you've seen all of that culminate into this lawsuit. Now, as it is that we've seen with this particular case, especially cases concerning NNPCL, there just seems to be this, sort of like Yimu thing going on. Like, let them make all the noise that they want to make, or let them talk all they want to talk. Let them, and at the end of the day, no real response from the people in question. Well, this time around, the court has stepped in, and again, we wait to see if this is going to translate into anything. Justice Madugu used this court order to step down the suit seeking for Ojulari's immediate sack, meaning kind of like, okay, let's give the defendants an opportunity to respond to the issue. Are they going to respond? It still remains to be seen.
Well, yeah, that's the right question. Are they going to respond? But they should. Otherwise, it will be contempt of law, of the court rather. And we're looking at, I think what the judge has been able to do, which I think is the legally smart thing to do in a high-profile appointment such as this, is to push the weight of the responsibility back on the government and the EFCC, which is also, is added as a defendant to the particular suit. Push that weight of responsibility back on the EFCC to respond as to whether there is actually a probe into the activities of the NNPC, chair, and as well as the executive to defend its appointment. But again, you asked the right questions for me. Are we going to see a response? I believe we should see a response. Or is this going to be like the regular, typical, high-profile legal inquiry that we get to see, legal probe by a CSO that we get to see in the country? A typical case of who are these ones? Who are these rats? Who are these ones that are making noise? Maybe they will call. I remember it was myself and Kim, before Kim left, we had Hamzat Lawal on the show. And, he does many of these follow the money stuff, with his civil society organization. And I remember on that particular show, it was a one-on-one with Hamzat Lawal. And he said, and I quote him, that the first bribe he got, that he was given as an individual, is 100 million naira. This was about 10 years ago. 100 million naira 10 years ago is equivalent to roughly about 400 to 500 million naira right now. And I asked him, was the money given to him in cash? He said, yes, it was in cash. Imagine people packing 100 million naira. And what was it for? How about you today make noise?
Just
what's all this noise? Take this money, go and buy yourself a house. Today shout. You don't chop. You're hungry. Let's help you. And this is exactly what goes on. So I hope the CSO in question, I hope whoever is the leader of the management, I hope there are people that have strong spine, tough skin, and they are not out there like other CSOs, like some of them that we know. They collect the money and then that's the end. The suit just dies down the natural death and that is it.
But I even think it's beyond the ability of the CSOs to stick with the matter, because they can stick with it for as long as they want. But if the court summons are not responded to by the defendants in question, then, they can stick with it for as long as they want, and it's not going to make much of a difference. Now,
absolutely.
In this particular case now, the court has the court granted them certain reliefs. It said, first of all, the defendants/respondents should show cause within 14 days, why prayers 3 and 4, as highlighted, should not be granted. Now, there were 6 principal reliefs sought by the group in motion. I only read one of them. There's 2 all the way up to 6. 3 and 4, perhaps before we're done with break 3, I can read them. But yes, the defendants in question, being the president, EFCC and Ojulari, are to show cause within 14 days why the reliefs or the prayers, is it now, sought by the people who brought the case forward should not be granted. He also
14 days?
Yes, 14 days. He also granted leave to the claimant, that's the word I was looking for, to effect substituted service of all court documents it had filed so far in relation to the case on the president through the office of the AGF at the Federal Ministry of Justice, Abuja. It also ordered that the claimant serve the originating documents on the NNPC boss through the officer or staff of the legal department of the NNPCL at his head office in NNPC Towers, and the judge also issued an order deeming the substituted service of the president and Ojulari as proper and valid. And then the judge also granted an accelerated hearing in the case and adjourned it to January 19 of 2026 for the hearing. So 14 days for the defendants to show cause, and also next date for the hearing, January 19.
I tell you what, Somi. This is me speaking as a Nigerian now, not necessarily as a
not as a Malian.
Not come on.
Not as someone from Mali.
Come on, Somi, don't do that.
I didn't mean Naira Mali.
I see what you're doing there. Okay. I'm basically speaking not as a journalist, as just an average Nigerian that observes the news. I promise you, Somi, I like the fact that the judge gave 14 days, right? 14 days is timeline. So now we have a deadline. If there is any response by the defendant in 14 days, I promise you something internal happened, and Biojulari is meant to be the fall.
Is meant to what?
Be the fall guy.
No, hold on. The defendants in this case, there are 3 of them.
Yeah.
So, and 3 of them are supposed to show cause. The president being one of them, EFCC being one of them, and Biojulari.
Right.
So all 3 of them can respond, showing cause why the prayer sought should not be granted.
My point is,
yes,
if all 3, well, let's remove Biojulari. Let's say the EFCC and the presidency, right, responds, and the response is in quotes in an indicting manner, right, that indicts Biojulari himself. I'm saying that something deep happened internally, and the man is meant to be the fall guy. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that to say that as of now, maybe tomorrow morning, that will begin to change. Right now, can we really say that judicial prosecutions are done because it is the right thing to do, or they are political witch hunts?
I mean, I can't fault every single judicial process ongoing in the country right now. For anyone to be seen as a political witch hunt as opposed to doing what he's supposed to do,
and maybe not political witch hunts.
It should show that there should be obvious statements made, or maybe from the judgments given. That's how we would know. But I can't fault every single one right now.
I mean, you'll be right not to fault every single one. But I'm saying if you take 10 cases, high-profile cases in the country, 10, 7 to 8, and I think I'm not exaggerating. Nigerians are listening. You can tell us if you think I'm wrong. Tell me rather. 7 to 8 out of high-profile cases in this country are because there is a particular bias or sentiment. Either somebody was meant to take the fall, or somebody has crossed the line, or someone has been disloyal. Not necessarily because people are corrupt. Do you know how many people steal money every day in this country? Do you know how many people are like they are being accused? They are actually stealing the money as we're speaking right now. In broad plain sight. So many things that do not add up. Should we begin to talk about the numbers in different sectors, different MDAs?
So what I'm trying to understand is,
yes,
how would this analysis then tie into this case? Because Bayo Julari, if I'm not mistaken, was appointed by the president. Why will he appoint somebody who would then eventually take the, like, or if you look at pretty much everything that has been leveled against Ojulari, you know, the accusations here and there, they are as a result of his own doing. So why would the higher authority be seeking for him as a fall guy kind of thing?
So, you actually think that at that level, people do things by themselves? Do you actually think so?
I think that some people are very well aware of their own actions, and even if they were puppets, even if there were strings being pulled, they would either go along because they want to benefit from the pulling of the strings, or they would step down because they believe that they are they are people of integrity. I mean, that's what I would expect from public office holders.
You are right. You are very correct in that submission, that final submission. But I tell you, when you see anti-graft at that level, at that magnitude, to the tune of billions of naira, I tell you, it's not one person acting. Only one person cannot see that kind of money. It's usually a chain, usually a network, a cabal, a group of persons sitting on the wealth of the nation. So one person is just going to be the face of it. If things go wrong, one person will be the fall guy. And you know how these things happen now. It's up on the carpet, the person has gone free. Worst case scenario, the person will just not take any political office or any appointive office in the country again. This is what we have. And I'm speaking as a Nigerian, what we have seen with our judicial. I mean, I was at a particular event last week. I think I've mentioned this on the show. And Bayo Agabi, what's this man? Kanu Agabi, thank you very much. A former AGF of the country. I have the video on my phone. He said it, and I'm quoting him, that the judicial sector of the country is one of the biggest problems of this country. He said it. I'm not. If anyone that was in that particular event, I will say to, can quote me if I'm wrong or right.
So again, this is talking about the fact that if at all we see any developments in this case, it will be because it was manipulated.
It is not that because we have become all of a sudden we're now fighting corruption. Something happened. Someone did something wrong.
God help us.
God help us.
God help us that your analysis is not correct.
I pray so. I honestly pray so. I mean, I want a country where people misbehave and they face the consequences, regardless of the appointive office. Whether the executive appointed you or not. You misbehave, you do what you shouldn't do, you pay the consequences. And that's the kind of country we all want.
So again,
yes,
let's bring it back. And that's why I said, if you look at what's happening with the Ojulari issue, again, looking at the petitions brought against him, some of the things that allegedly he was said to have done, because it still remains to be proven in a court of law, right?
Right.
Allegedly, these are things, and I don't want to believe that for every time we see this, no matter how high profile it is because somebody was pulling the strings. Who are we to say that this man didn't act of his own accord? Allegedly, if the court finds him guilty of these things, because I'm trying to tie it into your statement about him being the fall guy.
See, again, all we're doing here, we're looking at what the antecedents had, what we have always seen in the country, and
not always.
Oh, Somi, we're in the country together.
Not always.
Somi, we're in the country together.
I know, but
we're
always.
We're in the country together.
Not
do
always.
you know how many governors have escaped EFCC and the courts?
But then there have also been governors who have been convicted. What happened post-conviction is separate. But we've also had governors who have been convicted.
I like the caveat to put there. What happens post-conviction is separate. Because tell me why a governor who has been convicted gets back into a ministerial position.
That you are holding the judiciary accountable in this particular instance.
Mm-hmm.
So for the judiciary to have been seen to do what they're supposed to do, they will go through the court processes and convict when necessary. And that's why I'm saying not in all cases. There have been convictions. Whatever happens post-conviction is not to be placed at the head of the judiciary.
I agree with you.
Okay.
I am looking at it. You are looking from the angle of the judiciary. I'm looking at it from the angle of a nation.
Okay.
And the moral right, the moral ethics to do the right thing.
I agree.
As at when due. So we are looking at when people make this kind of moves. I'm not saying the man is at fault here. Nobody is guilty until proven so. Everybody's innocent until proven guilty, right? So we're saying that. I am saying with the way the country has been run so far, except something begins to change, to even the president, that his mantra was anti-corruption. Look at what happened under 8 years. How many convictions, high-profile convictions, we have in 8 years? The current president is not even one that is very particular about anti-corruption and clamping down on investments and all of it. So I am saying that nobody moves in that kind of space alone. There's usually a group of persons.
Okay.
How far, how tall, how high does that group go? I don't know. I can't say. I'm not in that space. But what we do know is that you don't steal 600 million naira, 2.5 billion naira. You don't steal that kind of money alone.
All right. We need to go on a commercial break. Take the news at the top of the hour, 4 o'clock. And when we come back, we'll open up the phone lines. It's still Hard Facts, the big three with Somi and Gabriel Spector. We'll be back.
This is an announcement. Did you know 1 in 3 women worldwide have experienced physical and/or sexual violence in their lifetime?
now the soldiers that are trained to fight Boko Haram and bandits, Nigeria has failed even the military. What a shame. Tinubu is totally misguided and playing the script of French president, his business partner and ally. The Nigerian government go explain. Taya. Good afternoon. Please let them tell us what they went to do. We are not fools. Filling mission. Gideon C from Gogolada says. Concerned Nigerian says ECOWAS should be disbanded as not being a serious entity. Well, who's going to do the disbandment? ECOWAS should look itself in the mirror and be ashamed of itself. European Union has positive competition among member countries on good governance and how to better the lives of its citizens. ECOWAS never condemned election rigging and bad governance in Africa. Good afternoon, Somi.
Mweka. Say it.
Mweka.
Yes.
Is that okay? When did it start?
While you were away.
Oh wow! Oh, so Mweka, what does that mean?
Let me help you.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Somi. I'm Uyo Bakara, one of Nigeria Info. Did
Wow.
you know today is my 19th wedding anniversary? Zion, I didn't know.
Bakara. What does all this mean?
My brother, just let it be.
What does it mean?
Let it be. We'll get into that later.
Okay.
Let's finish the big three.
Wow.
Okay. Congratulations to you, though, Zion. We'll talk about that later. All right, let's take some phone calls. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Yes, welcome.
Gabriel, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Good afternoon.
Okay, my name is Jafar Abdullahi.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Okay. ECOWAS declaring a state of emergency in ECOWAS country. I think that's just not a bad one, because if you look at it, the leaders are not performing. They are not doing anything. Any soldier can just wake up and cite any excuses that he wants to cite. And he throws out a completely democratic elected government. And the people are happy that the military are coming back. Look at Niger, look at Burkina Faso, look at Mali, look at Guinea-Conakry, look at Guinea-Bissau. All these countries, the people are happy. Because the military are going to give the people what they want. Look at the security situation in Nigeria. Do you expect a military man to be the head of state and all this nonsense going on will take place? I mean, with the military, you won't have all this Boko Haram bandits. They will chase you and deal with you.
So when you say ECOWAS declaring a state of emergency is a good one, they are declaring a state of emergency, talking about righting what's gone wrong with our fragile democracy. They're not necessarily calling for the military to take over. So I'm just trying to understand your point.
So why are the military taking over? That is the question that you're supposed to ask yourself. Because of bad government. And if we leave the military like this, all these African countries will fall one by one. Because their leaders are not performing. That is what we are saying. The leaders are not performing.
All right.
Let them change the path and know how to do the right thing.
All right.
So that the people will be happy with them.
Agreed.
This guy is not taking. Wallahi, I'm telling you, with what is happening, one after the other, these African countries are going to fall.
Thank you, Mr. Jafar. Let's leave it at that so that we can take some more calls. Obviously, the ECOWAS also citing failing systems, and that's why they're calling for the state of emergency. But beyond the declaration, the question is, what is that going to translate to? I think that's what still remains to be seen. Oh dear. Call me back. Call us back. Good afternoon. Hello.
Somi and Gabriel.
Welcome, sir.
My name is Amaka Ngwarempa.
All right, go ahead.
Of course, you should know that whatever the military, anything they say now will just be damage control and strategy. They will not just come and tell you that this is what they want to. They say they are going to Portugal to do to exactly just within 3 days or 4 days of an attempted coup in Benin, and they are saying you are going to Portugal. Just like what happened when the general was abducted. We don't know whether some are saying he's killed or he's not killed. We don't know yet. They came out and said it's a lie. He was never adopted until the president, everything came out. The president himself confirmed that this man was actually abducted. So they will never let you know, and that's the problem. Even in America, the president will address the nation in the front of White House. This is what is happening. We are going to this place. Everybody will understand. Even the press will ask questions. Everything is shrouded in secrets in Nigeria. And now, today, the president has written to the Senate to approve sending of troops to Benin. This is the breaking news today. You see it before the night falls. And we don't have soldiers here. We are still recruiting. And now you are writing to the Senate. And this Senate will approve it. Of course, it's not their robbers.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
So what I'm saying is that
yes, wrap up,
Senate will approve that request. They will approve that request, and it is not going to be in Nigeria's favor. They should just let these people tackle their own internal issues. Nigeria have a bigger problem, and you want to send troops to them. The right to Senate to approve sending of troops to Benin Republic to do what? It's not. I don't understand this thing.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, just to be clear, once again, two things. Let's provide some context. The request that the president wrote seeking permission to deploy Nigerian troops to Benin was done after the troops had been deployed. There was supposed to be a preceding request, authorization, and approval before the troops were deployed. But according to the reports, this was, the report got there after that deployment. And then secondly, when you say what are they going to do in Portugal, the spokesperson who put out the clarification said they went there for a ferry mission, which is basically the operation of transporting aircraft or personnel from one location to the other. It could be from manufacturing sites or staging areas to operational units or combat theaters. And so they were going on a ferry mission. I mean, we should be able to take them at their word, don't you think? Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
This is Mr. Gideon calling from Gogolad.
Go ahead, Mr. Gideon. Welcome.
Honestly, when we call and tell you people we don't believe whatever the government say, it looks as if we are criticizing the government. Every rumor in Nigeria always come to reality. When this thing come up, they denied it. Now we have seen it. Please let them tell us actual what they went there to do. All those ones are camp of we are wise. Thank you.
Mr. Gideon, what do you deduce in your wisdom it is that they went there to do? Good afternoon. Welcome, sir.
Some delicious to
yeah. Welcome, Pastor TJ.
Yeah, this is Pastor TJ from Dubai. I like Gabriel. How are you?
Well done, sir.
ECOWAS is just like a I cannot get our children to admission to university. We have to write jam again. What's the need of ECOWAS? I want to tell our president to stop wasting the life of our military men. Those guys that enter into Burkina Faso can tell you one thing, military men. Those guys that enter into Burkina Faso can tell you one thing for free. If that guy, they don't kill those guys, this guy, they will stay in prison for less than 6 months, because that guy in Burkina Faso is not joking at all. That guy is not joking. He need business. It's not joking. So they should just stop, please. Number one, they should get those our soldiers out. And Tinubu is just playing the game of France president. We know he has been dancing a willow, Makosa, with France president these days. It's not a ECOWAS issue at all. It's just France president that is using Tinubu. It's just France president that is using Tinubu.
What is not an ECOWAS issue? What is not an ECOWAS issue?
It's not an ECOWAS issue. I'm just telling you. This Navy fighter jets that are entering into Burkina Faso. It's not ECOWAS mission at all. What I'm saying is that Tinubu is just playing the game of France president. We should just deceive ourselves. We know what to do, because that country that they lost the plot cook now, it means a lot to France. That country means a lot to France because of their sea. That's why they want to do everything possible to get those countries back.
Okay.
France president, they need a lot of West African countries back to under their control. And they are try to do everything possible to get Nigeria under their control.
Thank you, sir.
So they should stop wasting the life of our leaders. God bless you.
All right.
For the opportunity.
Thank you.
From Dubai.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Ben from Gariki says, good afternoon, Somi and Gabriel Spector. Mr. Gabriel, frankly speaking, you have made my day with your unbiased analysis. Keep it up. I'm getting confused on the activities of our leadership as a country. We cannot get to where we're supposed to be if we have to continue like this. It's quite unfortunate that this is happening in Nigeria, our country. Ben with that one. And Tukumbo from Abuja says, note, it is an attempt to be apologetic to coups by saying good governance should be used to avert the occurrence of coups. Is it now? The term good governance is quite relative, he says. In other words, in a democracy, one man's meat is another man's poison. By extension, no democratic rulership in any part of the world can please everyone at the same time. Hence, what some perceive as bad governance should never be a justification for the occurrence of coups. All right, thank you for that one. Let's take this voice note. It's been here for a while, and let's get it played.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Mr. Kingdom, making the voice note from Metama, Abuja. Yes, it is a very shameful thing that the almost all the country in Africa that military are taking over, and is a call for concern because the masses are celebrating it each time it happens in any country in Africa. You see people celebrating, you see people are very happy. One happen and people are happy. Second one happen and people are celebrating, and they keep happening and all that. So if for the leaders in Africa to come together and ask themselves questions, because this is about a leadership failure.
Okay.
I'm surprised.
I think we'll leave it at that. You too many gaps in between, getting confused there. But Gabriel.
Yes, please.
I want to see if we can wrap this up with the whole state of emergency declaration and all of that.
Yeah.
Do you think ECOWAS can get their act right as a regional bloc and get a handle on this situation?
So
do you think they can?
Who is ECOWAS?
West African states.
When we say ECOWAS, you and I we're not part of the ECOWAS.
I don't understand.
Nigeria is part of ECOWAS. Yes. But when they have the meetings,
I'm Nigeria. I am Nigeria.
When they have the meetings, are you there?
I don't have to be there, but I am Nigeria.
I'm speaking the context. But here's my point.
Okay.
My point is this. When we talk about ECOWAS and all the decisions they make, we're talking about all the heads of states coming together, in West Africa coming together. And so when we talk about ECOWAS, we're looking at a collective perception of all the heads of states in West Africa. That's what it is. And so when we say anything about ECOWAS, it is all the heads of state put together and how they have sought or how they have chose to lead the entire regional bloc in a certain direction. And so when the change is going to happen, somebody said something that is very powerful. It says, since when did ECOWAS ever condemn injustice or rigging of election? Since when? I mean, beyond just the regular, because it is something they all do, something they all participate in. How many countries in West Africa right now can we say, the ones that practice democracy, can we say that the elections are genuinely perceived by majority of the people to be free and fair? How many? So I made an illustration yesterday. I said sometimes I look at it in my head as all of these heads of state in the living room, and they're having wine, they're sipping wine. Somebody's playing the grand piano somewhere in the corner, and they're just chilling and making mockery of the citizens in their country. That's genuinely how I see them. So if ECOWAS is going to change, it's going to have a redirection. It is going to be the heads of states who are first going to be true to their own country. You are not true to your own country first. Look, just look at Nigeria, for example. When last did we can majority of Nigerians, and please, nobody should tell me that it is a perception 6 and 9 thing. When we have free and fair election, not everybody will agree it is, but majority of people will say, yes, this election in my polling unit was free and fair. If 10 people come together and 7, 8, 9 can say it was free and fair, then you have a strong perception that this was a free and fair election. But that's not the case here. So when these leaders are first true to their own country, then you can now be a pace setter, be an example to the rest of the region. But how many in West Africa? How many? How many? Let's begin to name names. So when people say that West ECOWAS is just like a toothless dog, you cannot blame people for saying that, really. You cannot, because for decades now, it has been in one direction. People have, you call it the sit-tight syndrome. People have hung on to power beyond the constitution, have bent the constitution to their own will, just so they can favor them. Where was ECOWAS at the time? Beyond ECOWAS, what was African Union? Just sit by and watch, because again, not them. So this is the problem that we have. And really, if anything is going to change, it's going to start from them. Because they are the ones. It is not you and I that go for these meetings in Sierra Leone, in wherever. It's not you and I. In Liberia, it's not you and I. You and I are here. We're represented by a head of state or whoever it decides to represent him. And so this is where the issue must first start from. Introspection by all our leaders in West Africa. And say, see, we cannot continue like this. But because they are hands deep, they are neck deep into the corruption in their respective countries. So ECOWAS will just be, it's just going to be an extension of what each country has going on there.
I mean, if we were to look at it on a general basis, you have the president of the commission highlighting how bad things are across the region. Perhaps you would say it's slightly different from some of the heads of state and presidents within these countries who would not even acknowledge that things are as bad as they are. I mean, he went ahead to talk about the worsening humanitarian conditions across the region, referencing data that says as of October 2025, approximately 7.6 individuals were forcibly displaced across the region, and also 6.5 million the region having as many as 6.5 million internally displaced people. And he went ahead to highlight the countries that have this displacement without fear or favor, mention Nigeria, the AES states, and Cote d'Ivoire and Togo hosting the highest number of asylum seekers, for example. So perhaps it's a step in the right direction to say we acknowledge that at least I don't know if he was speaking for all the ECOWAS heads of states or presidents. I keep saying heads of state. If you're speaking for all the presidents of the ECOWAS countries there, but perhaps it's a statement to say they even acknowledge that there is a problem, or he acknowledges that there is a problem. Again, what then remains is, now that you have acknowledged that there's this problem, he also talked about the instability that comes about as a result of elections. Yeah, so he acknowledged that as well as some of the other issues plaguing. So perhaps it's the first step.
Good first step.
It's now remains to be seen if they're going to then take action to correct these.
What's next?
Take action.
I mean, so how are they going to take action?
As the owners of the problem in the country, they will take all the necessary steps to right the wrongs. For example, if it's elections that is causing the instability in the country, then as much as possible, extricate yourself from the mess, put up systems and structures that will work, and then allow them to function. Even
I wish we can have the ECOWAS president. We can ask, because I'm curious. What would they do differently moving forward?
So let's make that move and see if they would honor our
I mean, by all means,
get them here.
By all means,
let's
even if it's a delegate, whoever that can answer questions on behalf of the ECOWAS president, what would the regional bloc do differently? I mean, the same Benin Republic is going to have an election next year, 2026. Quite a number of African countries, Nigeria in 2027. What are you going to do differently? How are you going to ensure that member nations adhere strictly to the rule of law in their respective countries? I'm not just, like I said, the state of emergency, for me, is SOS.
Okay.
Men help also, we they die, yo.
Please. I believe there was no Tani Muturaki at that event. Let's not get it mixed up. All right, a few more messages and a few more calls, and then we'll wrap it up. Let's start with the phone lines. Good afternoon.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, sir. Welcome.
I'm Olatunji calling from Kubwa.
Mr. Olatunji from Kubwa, welcome. Good to have you here.
Yes. okay, I can see what is playing out. I can call it as a translation of power of intervention. Intervention. Because yesterday's intervention is what, because if there is no intervention, there is nothing to venture on. Because yesterday's intervention brought all this, what we are venturing in. And I want to say something that in Burkina Faso, our plane landed there. If Nigeria can assume that some kidnapping in Nigeria is staged by the federal government, let them assume it that it is staged also there, but for security purpose. I want to say now that some authorities are against the ECOWAS authority in West Africa. Now, I think that should be a decisive action from all the ECOWAS states and a joint policy, because a coup in neighborhood is a threat to even our own country. So I think the trend of military should be break within the Western region because of some influencer influencing the trend of the military. So that trend should be, and I'm happy that these Sahel regions are not countries of American interest. So it's a battle for America and to help Nigeria and some. Now we should have maybe we should have some countries that will belong to a new ECOWAS this forum. I don't know, but that is my take for now. Thank you. God bless Africa.
All right. Thank you very much. This one here. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Somi.
Yes, sir.
Gabriel, Inspector, I greet you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you. This is Chigo.
All right, Chigo.
Please, I want to ask a question. For deploying a military to, go and intervene whatever in another country, I think there's how they used to do it, due process by, going to National Assembly, or the Mr. President have the power to just deploy the military to go there without the National Assembly. So I want to ask this question. I think whether the due process follow by our military going to Benin for intervention or whatever. So whatever we are doing, we govern by law, and the due process must be followed. We have a National Assembly, whatever that Mr. President wants. I think in that nature, I don't know. I'm just asking that question. If Mr. President can just deploy our military to any country, if they're having a crisis without the National Assembly, does he have the power? Or it must go to National Assembly, and National Assembly will approve that. So that's my question on this.
All
Thank
right,
you.
Chigo. Thank you very much. Well, again, that was an area that we couldn't quite come to a conclusion on, because according to the reports, the request by the president just got to the Senate today, even though the troops had already been deployed. I don't know if there is a gap or a lacuna, or what's the word they use in the Constitution, that allows for such a thing to happen, where requests should be approved post the activity already taking place.
No, I think Section 5, subsection 5 was quoted and by the presidency, and it actually allows the president to deploy the military troops.
I'm reading it here.
On the basis of it affects the security of the nation.
I'm reading it here. Section 5.5, Part 2 of the 1999 Constitution mandates legislative consent for the deployment of armed forces outside of the country. So what happened is, perhaps based on the urgency of the situation, which was also quoted here, the urgent appeal from the government of Benin Republic, they went ahead and deployed, and then now sent
I think the president is allowed
post haste.
I think the president is allowed to request consent within 10 days of having deployed the troops.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Chigo, does that answer your question? We'll take the final one, and it's a message. We'll go on the break, and when we come back, we're going to go to the sound bites and then return after the conversation. Return after the news at the top of the hour, 5 o'clock. Message here says, good afternoon, Somi and Gabriel. Spell it out, Spectre. My name is Slace from Asoci. The thing is that if you keep taking the government by their word, then we're not ready for change. Somi, it is unfair if I'm eating rice and stew, but telling you that I don't eat rice. And that's where we ended. Thank you so much for all your contributions on the Big Three. Our time is far spent. We need to pay those bills. And when we come back, we'll talk differently. Thank you.
Abokaina, karfe 4 fa ta yi fa. Zan wuce cibiyar wasanni da motsa jiki. Cibiyar wasanni? Tun yaushe. Ai tun da na.
This is Nigeria Info.